Paul Moyer, I'm 41 years old. I live in Scarborough, originally from Kilmarnock in Scotland, but I've lived in Scarborough for 32 years now. I race for PMR182. I've been racing with NLR Racing, which is No Limits Racing, it's the championship in the UK. And we've been chasing going from novice intermediate rider all the way through to a national rider and then on to the roads. 2022 went really well. We started off first at Snetterton at the beginning of the year, straight away from the offset. The main target when we reached clubman level from novice intermediate was to start hitting the average pace of the leading finishing rider. All weekend, in that first weekend, I actually went above the average in every race that I did of the 4 races during the weekend. So it instantly became quite a confidence booster coming into the 2022 season. That sort of went on to the next few rounds, and every round we sort of improved until we sort of got to Croft, which was sort of my home race. Quite a few family members travelled through. I had other friends arrive to watch, and in the first quarter of a lap of practice qualifying, I was taken out from behind, which then resulted in sort of a 7 to 8 hour debacle of 3 different teams of people putting a bike back together for me to be able to race on the Sunday, which we achieved. I think there was a lot of learning through that whole weekend for me, for Spannerman, you know, mentally, physically, preparation, bike parts, things that we didn't not necessarily experience until basically your bike looks like a piece of scrap. And then we sort of rebuilt the bike, got the bike ready again to race at Cadwell in September. The bike was probably nearly back to point, and we managed to do fairly well. I think I picked 3 P4s and a P5, I think, for the 4 races during that weekend. And then we ended up sort of last round of this year running at Donington Park GP, where we changed quite a lot of elements on the bike. We started looking at finer details and made sure we understand everything. I'm pretty anal for data and detail. We do a lot of onboard watching and then obviously analysing the data, where I'm stronger, where I'm weaker. Obviously it progressed really well that weekend. First race, I got my first ever podium. Obviously 9 race weekends into racing since I started, to get on a podium was quite, there was nearly tears on helmet on the roll down lap when I went round, just sort of all the emotion and all the hard work. Personally, you know, sponsors, friends, family, you know, Michael Ball at Spannerman, everyone that commits to our work, you know, to get a podium, to see, you know, when we do take it serious, when we're able to sort of progress to the point of where we're on the podium. And in the very next race I took another podium, which was a P3, and there was some hard fought battles in that one, so I was running with the very front group and quartet of the standard twins. And then in the last race that I raced that weekend, was race 3, I got another P2. There was 4 or 5 of us all battling for that race, and to come out in P2 in the end from the guys that I was battling with, it was just a huge confidence booster for my own ability, and obviously everything that we're doing, and I believe we're sort of doing it in the right way. So 22 end of the season's finished really strong. Bike's on point now. Myself, you know, I've sort of worked a lot on myself and making sure that I'm on point with fitness, etc. So it just makes the package better. But running on to 2023, we've had to sort of upgrade the package. Obviously it's become a lot more serious, so support this year. We've got Nexus Building and Joinery again, local guys that have got an amazing business locally in Scarborough. ARI Network Services, which is ARI Europe. A real good friend from school days, Adam Hutchinson, that's come on board this year. Dave Whitaker with DW Motorcycles. Dave's been a massive help all the way from the very beginning all the way up to now, and continues to support me with a lot of work and a lot of help and time that he puts in for me, does Dave. Steve Marsh, flooring as well. Steve's a local guy, Scarborough, as a flooring specialist. And then we've got Altered Carbon, which is Ryan Newton, and Ryan again, he's another guy that supported me from the very beginning, that's carried on this journey and supported me again into 2023. SBPromoVids, Stu's been with me from near the beginning, so documenting all this coverage all the way from novice to national. Stu's covering all of it. We've also got CPH, estate agents and chartered guys. They were really keen to come on board. They were last year as well, so it's good to have them again on board this year. Pipeworks with Jeff Seddon. Jeff does work for all the race cans. He's been really good to me from last year, from when I had the crash at Croft. Focus Workwear and Promotional, which is Mark McNeely. He's been on board from the beginning. He helped me with the original sort of stickers and to try and get myself out there. This year's new clothing as well that Mark supplied, which is absolutely fantastic. Massive new sponsor this year that came in, that jumped on board, with Signs Express, which is David, Edith and Dan. They're the people that have created the new look for PMR182 in 2023. It's not really something I thought was paramount at the start, because obviously the racing, the funds, the money, everything else goes into things that are more needed for the bike, etc., and travel and getting there. This year it's just been a breath of fresh air for someone to come on board and basically have me involved in all stages of design, whether it was the bike, the van, the helmets, my leathers now have all the sponsors on as well. So every design part that's been with Signs Express, I've been heavily involved, and it's just been really good process with those guys. The bike's had a couple of little tweaks. Not going to go into too much detail because I don't want to give away too much on what I'm altering and what we're changing, but there is some visual things you can see. Brakes and rotors and things have been updated. We've been able to, with certain sponsors coming aboard this year, been able to afford certain parts that I just couldn't afford before. With obviously the maintaining and keeping the racing up. So that's obviously makes the bike a better package for me for this year. There is some other changes that have happened, but I'll let the other riders find out what they are when we're racing. So exercise, yeah, I've been doing a lot of exercise. I work out before I go to work every day, roughly between 15 to 20 kilometres every morning on a spin bike, and then I follow up with a lot of exercise, core movements. Really am putting a lot of commitment into this year and making sure I am a fit pilot when I'm aboard this year on the bike, so it's very important to keep fit. Obviously the closer you are to the front, the more time, effort, everything that goes in. So it's, yeah, very well prepared for 2023. Plan for 2023, we are 3 signatures now, only away from national licence. I've run out of rounds this year, just gone by in 2022, to be able to maybe get my national licence this year, just gone by. So we're planning on running the first couple of rounds with No Limits Racing. First round of the year is in March, that's going to be at Snetton with No Limits. And then in April we've got Cadwell Park. So the 2 circuits I know fairly well. Fairly confident that we can go to these 2 meets and get those 2 meets done. And I'll probably get 4 signatures. That's the hope for those 2 rounds, and that will take me into my national licence, ready to put the entries in for Oliver's Mount. Looking at 3 events this year. Won't have my licence in time for the Spring Cup, but for the Cock of the North, the Barisheen Classic and the Gold Cup, I'm hoping to be having an entry in for a newcomer. Obviously being a local for 30 plus years, Oliver's Mount's something that I hold quite dearly, especially for the racing. I've always been an avid fan. I have it as a focal point now because there's a high possibility that I'll be racing there this year, so the focus is high. I do a lot of training. I will train up there as well sometimes, just to keep the mind focused. I bike ride down there quite a lot as well, and that sort of spurred me on as well. So yeah, it's been really good. It's a very, very good focus to have. Huge thank you to people that sort of helped me out the box this year just gone by, which was JPCNC with John Percy, Clive Jarvis, Phil Southern, when things went drastically wrong for me at Croft. The same as the Crammon family, which is Julie, John and Martin. Some of the work and some of the things that they did for me this year were just gone by was pretty special to keep me out racing. There's some people I've not mentioned in this that have been sort of key from the very beginning. Matt Ward is a guy that does all my spraying for all my panels and anything that I sort of need to get done. Matt's not sponsored, but he does help me out hugely when it comes to any repair work or anything that needs doing. And then probably one of the biggest people that I need to thank is Michael Moore. He's my spanner man, he's my side man, he goes to every round with me, commits, you know, all his spare time to these race weekends, and anyone that races just, you know, knows the length and depth that you have to go into for preparation for these weekends. It's dangerous, but there's a lot of commitment that goes with it all, so a huge thank you to Michael for always sticking with me and carrying on with me in this journey. My missus is huge support for me. I'd better not forget her. Her and my son, what they do for me in my home life and everything to support me to make this dream possible to chase. Really proud to where we've got to so far, and I'd just like to say thanks to everyone that's believed in me so far on this journey.